Hey, welcome back. It's Keith and Sarah with the Leaders Lyceum for this week's weekly Thought Fuel.
Hey, listen, where we've left you the last couple weeks is in the middle of this design thinking thing and how that applies to us, innovating ourselves as leaders. And hopefully you did do what we asked you to do last week and go out and try and empathize, really understand the person who you want to have influence with more deeply. And I know that I see this all the time. It's like, oh my gosh, I've gotten this feedback. I know exactly what to do. And you work all this time to perfect this behavior. For me personally, what we're going to talk about this week is the most powerful point of application in terms of innovating ourselves. So Sarah, let's talk a little bit today about prototyping.
Yeah, so we're skipping over define and ideate in the process, the method of design thinking. We're going to spend time on prototyping, which is this idea of creating quick, early, rough representations of the things that you think might be the right idea, making them in some sort of creative, imaginative, does not have to be polished. In fact, you don't want it to be the final version. To then be able to give it to your user in that testing phase, which kind of they go hand in hand, to say, hey, I'm working on something, I want some feedback, help me learn more about you by running this prototype.
Last week we talked about the mindsets of empathizing, to start with the beginner's mindset, and to have this kind of spirit of curiosity about you. Is there a good mindset to keep in mind for prototyping?
Yeah, there's two that I think are really important, and one of them is a bias towards action, which is this idea of just do something, right? I'm the kind of person that wants to sit and analyze.
Make it perfect.
Yeah, before I share anything with the world, I want it to be nice and shiny and cleaned up. And this idea of you just got to stop thinking about it and do something early, which leads into the second mindset, which is my favorite and least favorite at the same time, which is fail forward fast. We're really good at not failing and trying to avoid failure in our world today. But when you can take the mindset of it's not actually a failure, but by something not working, you can learn a whole lot, and you want to fail forward. You want to take it, you want to learn from it, and then you want to move forward. And you want to do it fast, because if I spend weeks and weeks and weeks putting together something that then I go and get feedback on, and somebody gives me negative feedback on it, it's going to hurt a lot more. I'm not going to be as open to it.
Yeah.
So
fail forward slow is bad.
yeah, and it costs a lot, time and money.
Right. Guys, I'm sure you've made this connection, but we actually started out the year with this idea that we want you to go take some small steps. But this idea of thinking about yourself, prototyping a leadership behavior, prototyping a way that I'm going to be different.
It's not a long-term commitment. It's not I am now making this change forever. It's the way our colleague Bob Keegan uses the language of running an experiment. I'm going to try something. I have a hypothesis that I've developed through empathy and define.
I love that.
I'm going to go try an experiment, changing something about myself, and then see what happens and see what I learn. So that's the prototyping and testing, is running this experiment.
So that's your task this week. Try and run a fail forward fast prototype behavior and learn from it.
Yeah, and we'll talk about next week how to kind of get into that iterative cycle and what to do with your experiment, whether it worked or whether it failed.
See you then.